I'm going to be going over how to file a local earned income tax return in the state of Pennsylvania. As you already know, Pennsylvania is a beautiful state, but when it comes to taxes, there's a couple things that I'm not a big fan of. Obviously, first off, the one thing that I do love is it's a flat income tax state, 3.07%. The downside is, when it comes to the tax side of it, they have a separate local tax return instead of having it on the state tax return. So that is why I will be going over how to file this local earned income tax return today. I have created some fake information that I will be using to basically prepare this return, and I'm going to be preparing the return on paper, but I'm going to be doing it on the on like an actual on the computer, so you'll be able to see everything without having to see me like write stuff down. And let me just go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see that. So this is obviously what the local tax return looks like. I will be filling this out today for you guys. And this is the W-2 that we'll be using. Again, it's fake information. The person we're preparing this for is John Doe. And as we can see, this is all the information that we'll need. It's a fake business. The address for the business is a real address, but it is a park address. And then I just made up the actual resident address that we'll be using. And then this is just the municipality information, because we'll need this as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. So let's first off, we're going to enter the tax year. In this case, since I printed out a 2025 Form W-2, I'm technically preparing a 2025 tax return. So I'm going to put in 2025, and you'll see that throughout this return. This person, first off, just for a little bit of background information, they're single. They don't have a spouse or anything like that. And this is the only income they have is from this W-2 job from Braun Enterprises, which is my last name, funny enough. So the last name for the person that we're preparing this for is Doe, and then the first name is John. I don't have a middle initial, so we're just going to go without one. I'm going to be flip-flopping back and forth a little bit just to get out of this information because I don't necessarily remember all the information I wrote down. So his address is 123 State Street, Susquehanna, PA. 123 State Street, Susquehanna, PA, and then the zip code was 18847. And then that is really all the information that we need for this part here. If he had moved at all throughout the year, then we use this part up here just to use the dates living at this address versus the other address. But we don't have to worry about any of that for this case. So the next thing that we are going to be looking at is the resident PSD code. So this is the postal school district code that we will be needing. And that is why we use the municipality statistics on this website here. So I've already done I've already entered in the address information, so we don't have to see all that. But as we can see right here, it actually gives us the PSD code as well. So the PSD code in this case is 580604. And they make this very fun to enter in on here. Oh, look at that, it's even uneven. That's funny. Anyway, so that's the first information that we need from that, and then the only other thing that we need from that is the resident EIT. So this is the actual tax rate, so it's 1%. So I'm going to go down here into line 9, the total tax liability, and I'm going to enter 0.01, or you could enter 1%. That's whatever you want to do. And I'm just going to check while I'm also here, just check single because he is a single person. He's not married, filing joint. He's not married, filing separate. And it's not his final return. He's still alive from the best of my knowledge, at least. So next piece of information that we'll need is the social security number, which is this right here. So I'm going to enter that in. And now this is where we are going to be referencing the W-2 information. Now this W-2, as we can see, he works in the same area that pretty much he's living in. So the same, so it's going to PA 18847, same zip code, everything like that. So the information isn't going to be too hard to enter in, but the very first part that we're going to be referencing in this case is when you're looking at this W-2, you obviously see like line 1 is for federal. All this information up here is for federal. Down here we have state, and then line 18 is local wages. So this is where we are going to be using that. So the $50,000 is how much he earned in this locality. The $550 is how much tax was withheld. And this is just the locality name of where he worked. So as we can see, it's actually the same postal code that we have for where he lives. Generally speaking, I've never seen, they generally always have a postal code here, a PSD code, the PSD code listed here. I've never seen a name or like letters or anything like that. It's usually just the PSD code, or sometimes it's like a three numbers and it's like part of the PSD code. So just for reference, that's this part right here though. So we're going to go back here. We're going to enter in gross compensation as reported on W-2 as $50,000. And as you can see right here, it also says enclosed W-2s. So when I only made it on this copy here, but actually this is this copy that we'll need, so that's funny enough. We're going to have to basically use this copy and send it in with this return when we mail it in. That's basically what this is asking for. So if you were to use like a software or anything like that, you would just simply enter in they'll have you basically enter in the W-2, key it in, and then they'll just basically attach that. So you won't actually have to send in anything when you file it electronically. That's why you might not, if you file electronically, you won't have to like mail in your W-2, or you won't actually have to mail in your return or anything like that. So next line we're looking at right here is, so he doesn't have any unreimbursed employee business expenses, doesn't have any other taxable earned income. So in this case, his total taxable earned income is $50,000. Doesn't have any profits or anything from a Schedule C or anything like that. If you did, if you did have a business or anything like that, you would reference the actual PA Schedule C, not the federal, just to clarify for that information as well. And then obviously if you had a loss, you would enter that in here. The total net taxable profit, that's for businesses. We don't have to worry about that. Total taxable earned income and net profit. So we're going to add line 4 and 7. 7 is blank, so it's just $50,000. And then we're going to enter in the total tax liability. So it's 1% times 50,000. So in this case, it's 0.01 times the 50,000 earned income. In this case, it's 500. And then total local earned income tax withheld. And as you can see here, it just says may not equal W-2. So in this case, we can actually see how much they withheld. So in line 19, right here, in box 19, they withheld $550. So they actually over withheld on his wages. So we're going to enter in the $550 right there. And that, I should believe that is the only other piece of information we have. So let's see. Quarterly estimated payments credit from previous tax year. He didn't have any. We're just going to assume he didn't have any. Any out-of-state or Philadelphia credits. So if you worked out of state, for example, then that you'd get a credit for working out of state, because you'd be double taxed otherwise. So that's not fair to you. So there's more instructions on that above. I can show you that after this. But first off, we're just going to finish this return. So box 13, or line 13, is total payments and credits. Adds line 10 through 12. So this case, it's $550. That's his total payment. His refund, if more than $1, enter the amount, is $50, because it'd be $550 minus $500. And we don't have any credit, taxpayer, spouse, any sort of thing like that. Earned income tax balance due. There's nothing due since he's getting a refund. There's no penalty or interest or anything like that. So we don't have to worry about that, nor do we have to enter in a total payment due. We just simply have to sign the return well, I wouldn't sign the return. I would have the client sign the return in this case, date the return, and since this is a 2025 tax return, which would be due April 15th, 2026, I'm just going to date it April Fool's Day, because why not? And then since I prepared this, I'm just going to enter in my information, and then I would sign it. The taxpayer would sign it. I would enter my phone number just to basically, if the local tax that we're submitting this to, the local tax place that we're submitting this to, then I would enter my phone number just in case they had to call. And depending on, you have different people that you might be submitting this to. So this is actually the tax collector for this area. So this is who we would be sending it to, just to clarify, since this is technically a paper return, since I'm entering it on here. And since I'm entering this as a paper return, you'd obviously, again, have to print out this copy, or you wouldn't print it out. Hopefully you'd have this copy. They'd send it to you in the mail, and you would submit that with your return. But other than that, that is how pretty much you basically fill out a local earned income tax return in the state of Pennsylvania. It's relatively basic. Most of the time, I've rarely ever seen a refund, to be honest. If anything, most of the time, usually with employers withhold the exact amount they need to, so you don't have to worry about owing anything most of the time, and you usually don't get much back if you were to get anything back at all. So most of the time it's just withheld exactly where it needs to be. I'm going to link this down below just so everyone can kind of get, first off, so you can reference it, and second off, because this kind of goes through it explains all the different lines that are throughout the return. So for example, I mentioned out-of-state credits if you work out-of-state, because a lot of people, especially on the border of Pennsylvania, in my area at least, they don't work in the state of Pennsylvania, they work in a different state. So this will actually give you like an example and explain how that works. And yeah, other than that though, that kind of brings a wrap to this video today. If you have any questions about preparing a local earned income tax return in the state of Pennsylvania, feel free to drop a comment down below. I know it's kind of a nuance, especially with, I think it's a nuance, at least just how the state kind of sets it up. I really do think that PA should just have this auto calculated. Like this should auto be done on the state return. Like this would make everything a lot easier if it was just on the state return, and it would make everything, it would make life a lot easier. But you know what? The government doesn't necessarily want that sometimes. So, anyways, have a great day, everyone. If you learned something new, please be sure to subscribe, like the video, drop a comment again if you have any questions or anything like that. And I will see you in the next video. So have a great day, everyone, and peace out.